good value out of it. Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
So
I had this very
sorry.
I had this very similar feeling, you know, like it just feels like all your defense mechanisms taken away and there is nothing to shield yourself with.
Yeah. It's kind of like, right, feels very
Yeah.
close. Yeah.
Everything is here and everything is just feels, and just that you're so sensitive, like any look, any just like any touch, everything is just like, ah.
Mm.
Would you say, Anna, that that's always in anticipation of something? That
No, I think it's just, you know, it's because all you see through how all defense mechanisms works, and once you see them through, they're not getting applied anymore. So you become like kind of stripped off, like naked.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So what about,
Yeah.
where do you get to a point where you realize there's nothing to defend against?
I think I'm getting to the point where I'm start looking into that, what that needs to be defended. But I just don't want to get in the middle of your conversation because it's your talking.
Oh no,
No,
this is it.
Honestly, this is helping me, Anna.
It's just I've been recently sitting like doing like a Feather 4-5 inquiry, but with that feeling of threat, of danger. You know, like you can feel that fear response in the body just suddenly out of nowhere, or maybe there is some thought just passed and, you know, like not catched. And then you just, you know, like where is actual threat, like where is actual danger? And I was sitting with that like again and again every time it was coming up. And then like, where is actual danger? Where is actual danger? What that is linked to, that sensation in the body. And another day it came up, I can die. I just thought comes up like this. So I just, you know, keep repeating that thought and just, you know, feeling into them sensations. And then the next thought came up, I don't want to die. So I just been, you know, like sitting that I don't want to die and just feel, I don't want to die and just feel what is happening in the body. And like even now when I'm saying there is still something, but it's not as strong as it was before. And just, you know, like as I say, like looking what is linking this thought, how that is linked to that sensation. Is there any link at all? Just to see, you know, like how all this mechanism works. So I don't know. And then I was thinking, you know, like another times when I will notice there is some kind of need to defend something, start looking, you know, like what is actually need to be defended here.
Mm.
So what we want to happen is as we let go of the defensive responses, that those moments when we don't have any defenses going, that we also recognize that we're not in any danger now at that moment. So we want those two things to move together. We don't want to take the defenses away and have you actually hurt in any way. But it's, you're not going to be. See, the thing is that the fear that you will die, or you will be annihilated, or whatever that fear is, like it's huge. But it's like that's the little kid in the dark bedroom not wanting to get out of bed and look under the bed to see if there's really any monsters there. You know, when you get out and you turn the light on and you look under the bed, of course there's no monsters there, are there? But it's the same fear. It's the same fear that you're responding to. And it actually probably still belongs with that little kid who was frightened in bed, not an adult you. But the fact that you have this physical reaction of the young person tells you that your perception of that is not as an adult. It's still as an innocent, frightened, naive child, one without the ability to cope with these kind of things. I mean, as an adult, you'll just get out of bed and put the light on, you know, you wouldn't even bother to look under the bed because you know it's rubbish. But if you did look under the bed, there's nothing there, of course, except maybe dust. But that fear is just as big as what it was when you were 4 years old or 5 years old or whenever you experienced that one. But see, telling you about it isn't going to change it. What you've got to do is look at it as you drop your defenses and see that you're still there. You're still okay. Getting those two together, that's the hard part. Yeah. But it's something we got to go through. And we know that we can't run away from it. As fast as you can run, it's like your shadow. It's right there behind you all the time. The only way is to turn around and face it and turn on the flashlight or the light. And then you realize that it was only a shadow. It's not really there, but you've got to look at it yourself. Telling yourself about it isn't going to change it. Part of me wants to say, well, you've got to have courage, you know, but then I laugh because courage that's a stupid thing to say. What's courage? Nobody has courage. You either do it or you don't do it. That's it. It's not, it's courageous if you look back at it as a story, but when you're doing it, it's just like, no, you just do it. You don't do it. It happens.
When you say look at it and face it, I know for myself, when say I've linked it to a chronic fatigue crash, so it's illness as well. And when I'm in those states, I don't know if they're similar to Kelly's or not, but no suggestions really work for me there. I don't feel able, I'm not sure if, I don't know if Kelly's like that, but I feel kind of incapacitated to fight against it, to it'd be like, look at what, you know, what am I looking at? What of the million tools and suggestions I've had over the years, and nothing seems to work in it.
No, and it won't work because it's because you're still looking at fixing something. So we're not looking to try and end that. It will end, but we're not trying to end it. What we're trying to do is understand or see what's involved. Right, so it's in the now. What we're looking at is in the now. That's why we get into our sensations, because they're in the now. But as we approach those sensations, it's very likely that stories will reveal themselves, and they might or not be accurate. That doesn't matter. But if stories pop up, you take notice of them as what they are, as the stories that they are. You don't have to believe them. Just have to step back from them, not be involved in them, and look at what they're trying to tell you. So we're not trying to fix anything. We're not trying to end something, not directly anyway. We are, of course we are, but not directly. What we need to do is look at what's going on right now, every time, right now, because that fear isn't now. That fear comes out of some other time, some other place, out of some story that's been embedded into the body, most likely. So if we approach these things with the idea to fix them, to end them, to change them, we're doomed to fail. Because that's always about some fantasy future. So when I say look at them and face them, it's always got to be what's going on right now. And the only thing that you've got access to is what your body tells you. I mean, sure, you've got access to what your mind tells you, but you know you can't believe any of that. But your body doesn't lie. I mean, yeah, that gets complicated. Now, your body will tell you pretty accurately what its situation is. So when we say it doesn't lie, it doesn't lie about what it perceives. So we're not talking about any ultimate absolute. We're not talking about anything other than what's going on right now.
I don't want to break into Kelly's communication with you, but I was just thinking this the other day, actually, because that's the suggestion I've had over the years, is do somatic work, do body work, and check into the body. But it's not the body so much that I feel the problem is, it's the mind. I feel defenseless against my thoughts and beliefs when I'm in that place. I feel defenseless about what seems like the years of thoughts and beliefs that when I'm not in a crash is not there. It's just not there. Things are just flowing. But when I go into a crash, the thoughts and belief are like doomsday. It's a feeling of doomsday.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
That's where the problem seems, with the thoughts and beliefs rather than with the body sensations. I don't know if I'm starting to see that I'm only just learning to connect with the body and find out what fear feels like, what my feelings are, because I've spent a long time disassociated. I find it very easy to go into what they call, you know, the awareness, you know, the kind of there's no one, nothing's happening side of it. That's a very easy place for me, but to come down into the body again and get in touch with trauma, the energy staying in the head and going mental in those times.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I feel able to do is kind of wait. It feels like waiting for it to pass. And nothing I've ever tried so far in those times, I don't want to sound too negative, but it's just what seems to happen here in those times. It doesn't, dropping into the body, I seem to be able to do that. I seem to be able to do it. Whether I am or not, I don't know, but it's the threat. It's the doom, the threat of nothing's ever going to be all rightness. And there's so much, I've got so much crap. That's what it's saying, more or less.
Yeah, look, I get
too
that.
much.
I'm hearing what you're saying about that. And I do, I mean, that feeling of almost paralysis that you talk about, that's pretty, a lot of people experience that one. It's one of the fear responses, you know, it's a freeze response in a way. It's like when you dream, your body gets immobilized when you dream so that you don't act out your dreams. Well, it's a bit like that. And if you're kind of half awake, you know, you've got that feeling of being trapped because you can't move. You know, that's, yeah, I get that. But, you know, okay, so let's drop down to one level of subtlety about this. So when you are feeling, and I'm talking to both of you here, when you get to that feeling of dread, and you say it's what you're thinking about that's doing it, the thoughts that you don't seem to be able to control, that feeling of dread isn't in your head. It isn't in your thoughts. That feeling of dread is in your body. But you're swimming frantically to try and get away from that. And what I'm saying is you just need to stop and dog paddle, just float and examine it. Now, it might be hard because your thoughts are going to get more and more insistent. They're going to get bigger. They're going to try harder to get you away from that. They don't want you going near your body, because once you get into your body, you get out of your head, and that gives your thoughts no power. So they're going to do everything they can to stop that from happening. And they're going to try seduction, then they'll try threats. They'll try anything they've got available to them to get you to not go into your body. Now, it's easy to imagine that when you go into your body and that gets you out of your head, that's a fix. But it's not. It's not a fix. It's not the end result. It's not what we're looking for. We're just looking to get there in order to be able to investigate it more. So we've got this primary thing that stops us from getting to where we need to get in order to be able to see what's going on. So we're getting, so.
Yeah, I think,
yeah, go on.
I get that. That's a good point. And as you're talking, I think, give myself a bit of credit. I think maybe I'm doing that, starting to do that more.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it feels like a surrender when I stop fighting, because I don't want to feel disabled. I don't want to feel old. I don't want to feel incapable. Those are the things I think I'm avoiding. And the thoughts are telling me you're useless. You get it, all the fear thoughts. I think I'm starting to. I think the periods might be getting of the crash, as I'm calling it. Some people, they might call it depression, but me, it's tied in with my health, anxiety, whatever. I think they are getting a little bit shorter. But it is, it's all tied. It's all tied in with those simple words like acceptance, surrender. And that's the last thing I want to do, because I want to stay in the fantasy of I'm well, I'm like other people, I can do what I want. And that's, thanks for that, because that's made me see it. Because it's easy to talk. It's easier and better to talk about it when you're out of it, because that's the only time to build up the knowledge for when you go back into it and you've seen, I run away this time, don't want to face the illness, the tiredness, the lack of being as capable, the failure. There's failure in there with it. There's sadness, there's loss, there's lack. Everything's in there, but
So
really
the ups and downs that happen, of course, that's nature. That's the way things work. Nothing stays the same. So what we have is more and less. We have ups and downs. We have in and out. We have, however you like, fluctuations of it all. When you go into what you call a down, into one of those darker places, it's a bit of a paradox, because when you see that happening, you go, oh no, I don't want that, right? And guess what happens? As soon as you start resisting it, it gets stronger, it bulks up and, you know, gets into it a lot more. Whereas if you said, okay, come on, give it to me, baby, right? It wouldn't know how to cope with that. It wouldn't know what to do. It's because you're not doing your normal running away from it or resisting it. Now, I know it almost sounds really strange, mental for me to say, but it's those downtimes that you need to look forward to for the opportunity to see what's going on. Instead of looking to get away from them, look forward to them. I know they're not pleasant. I'm not, and we're not going to hit some magical place where all of a sudden we're blissed out about the whole thing. We might, but that's not likely. But they're the times when you're not thinking about it, but rather you're experiencing it. And if you can just see how the stories that get going are the ones that take you into that place, all of a sudden those stories lose their power.
Yeah.
But, you know, we don't know what we're doing. We're just poking around and seeing what happens, and hopefully we're going to hit on something that we go, that relieved a bit. And then away we go again, waiting for the next time we're down. Every time we get up, we want to wait for it, look forward to the next time we're down, because that's our opportunity to really change it. I know. Look, I feel your pain almost. I do. But those.
I know what you mean, though, because sometimes when I come out of it, I think, oh, I missed an opportunity there. I could have.
Yeah.
You know, I do think that more and more. It's like I know the juice was in that time. There was a lot in that I could.
Yes.
Have absolutely. A break.
Yeah.
I think just to point out as well, and Kelly, come back in if you want to speak.
We're talking about the same stuff here. I don't think Kelly's excluded.
Yeah, Kelly and I are friends, so we do have to say things to
we
things.
You're just plucking everything out of my head. So
the other thing, Vince, is that I struggle, and if I was in it, I couldn't talk about any of this, by the way. I'm totally gone. I can't even speak about it. So it's easy now I've come out. But the other thing about it is, so I can accept, okay, you're going to have to go to bed, it's boring, you don't know how long you're going to be there, you don't know if it'll ever end and all of that. But the one thing that is the worst is presents itself as disinterest. There's nothing, I can't watch, I'm not interested in Netflix. If someone said to me, you've won £1,000, I'd be like, so what? You know, it's like being dead.
Yes. And the amount of energy you've got in those moments would be like that as well. You would be sapped dry of energy, right? So it's not so much disinterest as I don't know what you call it, as being sucked dry. You just haven't got any, there's no energy to be interested in anything, right?
Yeah.
Because you're in a survival situation.
And you can't sleep either because you're overtired. And the first thing you want to do is just go to sleep, but you can't.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And then the whole time you can't sleep, you're telling yourself what will happen if you don't get any sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a test. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
I think I get back from it more and more because I'm hitting up against it now, which is good. Because sometimes when I'm hitting against it, it's on its way out. I've never been able to clarify it as much as this because I've been too busy running away. But
yeah, that's the usual thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just what happened as well. I couldn't do anything else. It
Mm.
seemed too big.
Let me
This
say,
trauma's-
if you find yourself running away, that's okay too, right?
Yeah.
Because the moment you realize you're running, guess what happens? Right? You stop running it for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like everything hits at once. You can start getting the bloody childhood memories and like, oh my God, now, you know, I'm in
Yeah,
a crash. You have to deal with it all now.
Good thing to do if those childhood memories start popping through, either get a voice recording going or write them down. But a voice
Yeah,
recording is better,
I'm doing
quicker.
voicing.
Yeah.
Really, it's
Something
really
like that,
working for me. That, you know, don't get me wrong, when I'm out of it, I'm like, this is quite exciting. I'm like, you know what I mean? It's all good material. It's all,
You got more
you know,
energy.
it's all breakthrough. It's all part of the awakening. It's a good thing. It's everything's good, but I won't be able to say that when I'm in it. I'm like, fuck non-duality. I
Of course,
non-duality. I want to do it again.
yeah. What are you distracted, Jeremy?
What's distracting me?
Oh, so something in the room there's distracting you. So you've been following what's going on here?
I have.
Yeah. So give me your guide's thoughts about these people.
This is interesting for me to do. I've been as you may have noticed out of the loop for a bit and not thinking so much about talking or thinking about it, but just trying to, well, for various reasons, ended up just like living it. My distraction is going. I can elaborate on that later. I'll be back.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry.
Yeah. I always feel a bit like I don't want to monopolize. You're only giving you one point of view if you're just listening to me. So it's good to get other people involved as well. Yeah.
I want to ask something, Vince.
Okay.
So in the last week, since last meeting, there have been like moments like of clarity. Okay, I'll try to put that in words because it's hard to put in words. So, you know, like the moments of clarity when it feels like that you can't even say no self because I don't know what it is. It's not here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you know, like when you look there, like the best word is just like empty. And that's what always feels here. It's kind of empty. And like there was another day, like I'm leaving the house and just like that thought, I don't even know what I am. And it's just like, you know, like a laugh. And then you see that's like talk just happens, like everything just happens, and there is no this me, which always kind of is here. And there's absolutely no problem. But it's just funny to see that behavior. It's more like, you know, like a dog you let out of a leash and it just goes mental. Yeah, it's just like no filters, all shit comes out, you know, like behavior just like crazy, but there's no problem with that. And then that self-in mechanisms eventually, you know, like comes back, you know, and just like this me feels like very real again. And then there are moments, you know, like when you clearly see like thought for a thought and how this like there was like sensation in the body, and you know, like you really just sit there and like looking into who this sensation is, you know, like who ownership of sensation. And you know, you just there was like you could clearly see like there is a body image thought, and then there is this, you know, simultaneously like a ownership, this is me. But you can see that's all like a thought, you know, like. And then so this morning I was sitting and looking in some coloring books and just thoughts are coming like, oh, maybe when I was a kid. And next thought was, but I never was a kid. And then just a cry came up. I don't even know what I am. And a more cry, you know, and just like all settles. It just feels like, I don't know what it is, like a nervous system getting very destabilized. Because yeah, it's just like, you know, like another day, I'm just like walking out there and you are really into that, what you always are. You know, that like effortless being, whatever that is, you know, that's the unnameable thing. And I'd like car uncommon. And there is no any fear. It just like, you just see like whatever happens to body, it doesn't affect this. Yeah, just strange thing. But that, you know, when that like, oh, I never even was a kid. That's, you know, like that was like kind of, you see like them thoughts that just like, they are just thoughts and they're like empty. And all stories are here just empty. There's nothing is there and there's nothing you can define yourself as. And then and then the self is back again. And it's just like, you know, on and off and on and off like this. There's no problem with that either. And it's another thing. Whatever comes up, there is no problem with anything. You know, if self is here, it's no problem. Like no self, whatever that is, I can't even say no self because it doesn't even feel like that. But okay, let's say it. And like no self is here, and there is some kind of excitement that is not here. You know, like some kind of like, oh, achievement of something, and nothing of that is problem. You know, like it's, yeah, that's very, I don't know, strange how this is happening. So it's kind of end because there was a lot of that trauma process and a lot of emotional stuff and all that energetic and body sensations, and that's kind of moved back into this consciousness space. But it's, I can't say I'm out of body now. It's like kind of,
Yeah.
more like space is opening to hold both like this. And you know, this, what you can't say anything about it, and also this body, and also you recognize like the body is just the body. It's so strange to say anything, but like, you know, that self and hasn't gone fully. It's like it comes on and off.
Sure. Yeah. But it certainly sounds to me like you're dealing with better 6, 7, and 8 stuff. So form and formless, and the remnants of I am, and yep, and even moving into restlessness. So that's just, see, all these things we can't really categorize them like that. That's kind of a silly thing to do in a way. But what I get from you, what I like, is that you're curious and somewhat excited about these strange experiences. Yeah.
Definitely excitement is also there, and also that is no problem.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So that curiosity, that's what will take you forward quicker than anything. Right. And you're at with this stuff, your words don't do it. You can't really use words to describe anything that you're experiencing here. We're kind of beyond the word stage in a way. We can try, of course, but we can't do a very good job of them. But yeah. So in a sense, that discovery that you were never a child, that extends to, you're not a person now. What you are,
Yeah, I think that way. I think that way that crying was, you know, like, I don't even know what I am. It's just like, you know, trying to create something, and you can see that you can't create anything because it's all is empty.
Well, that's
There's
nothing. That's the
nothing.
big discovery here. The really big discovery is how, up till now, you have created the world with your thoughts. You've created everything with your thoughts. And now you're seeing that unraveling a bit.
Yeah.
So you
yeah,
can see
all
how
that,
thoughts come in and
all
want
the
to stabilize. Thoughts come in and want to concretize. They want to make something out of nothing. That's what they do. That's really well.
yeah,
You're up on the next level of the spiral. You know, we went from not believing our thoughts because they were leading us astray. Now you're back to seeing how your thoughts did do what they did, how they did create the world for you, how they do create the world for you.
mhm.
But that's another level. That's not what we're at with Anne and Kelly here. Yeah.
So would you say, like, because I'm still, you know, like sitting here and waiting like for first fetter to fall away. Because
Look,
I'm thinking like my first fetter is still here.
no, you can forget that one. I mean, we will see ourselves self. We will see we will see remnants of identification coming up until they don't anymore,
Okay.
until we've seen through.
Okay.
But that don't mean that you haven't seen through self. I mean, that's long gone, that one. Long gone.
Oh.
Yeah. So now,
Definitely
yeah.
some kind of expectation for something has to fall, you know, like it has to be some clear shift, you know, like no self.
Well, some people are into the clear shifts thing. I'm not, because that's not what I experience, you know. It's just a continual drip, drip, drip all the way kind of thing.
Yes, yeah, it is just like a wee tiny some wee, like, and they are so subtle you can't even say something happened.
Yep. So we develop a skill in how we observe without opinion, without coming to a conclusion, without a judgment about what's going on. So then when we get caught in doubt, for example, you know, that we believe the judgments, you know, oh, that means that I got angry. That means I'm not through fetter one. You know, that's just doubt stuff talking. It's because we believe that it means something, right? But you're at a level now where you recognize that nothing means anything. Any meaning is just made up. We can make up any story, call it meaning, you know. Depends where we are, how we view things. So, but what is really going on? Well, the last few, the bit that you're at is where there will be a struggle to try and make sense of what's going on, but that will end with you going, oh, what the fuck? Not bothering to chase it anymore, because you'll recognize that there's no answer. You're never going to get an answer. You're never going to know what's really going on.
Mm-mm. It's just because anything said about what's going on, it's just another thought, and that's just another thought. Yeah, and it's just like you say that, and it's just like
Mm. Mm.
Just on that, it's a little bit confusing because I think it's Feta 3. Pinnell says that if it quite shocked me actually, because it's not my understanding, but she says if you're having any kind of reaction, like if you're in traffic and you get angry with what they've done, then the first fetters haven't fallen. She's very clear about it. I was quite surprised, but
well, you know, I have a lot of respect for Penella, but I don't know. See, she probably comes at things from a different angle from me. I say, so what? You know, what is definitely happening is, if you get angry, is that you're selfing, right? So there is an identification that goes on, because your anger is like your defense against something. And you can immediately get sucked into thinking it's a defense against the idiot that cut you off. But it's not about that at all. You know, the fact that you get triggered by that, it's just a proxy, right? Because what you're really triggered about is somebody else, some other time, some other place, some other situation where you're, how can I put it, where you got squashed, you got put down, not noticed or ignored, or more than that, sent away. What's the right word there? So whatever,
Rejected.
rejected. Yeah, absolutely. Well, more than rejected, rebuffed.
Mhm.
I had like a couple days ago actually exactly what you're talking about, because it like traffic is the most, like you can notice all them things happening. And like, so I've been looking at this for a while now, what is happening there, and like ignoring this is the best what came up, like I've been ignored. So okay. And then last time, like someone pulled in front of me, and I'm just looking into that, just keep looking, what is happening there. And there was like, people can do to me whatever they want, and I can't do anything about it. And it's probably is common when you were, like kid's body, that was just like whatever anyone wanted to do to that kid, like
The
you had
helplessness
no
is part
say
of it.
in your needs were not taken into considerations, your desires were not taken into consideration. It's just, like you were just like a rag doll,
Mm,
like completely helpless and powerless to say anything. So
Yeah.
that's this kind of thing.
So 2 days ago, yesterday, day before, I don't know, recently anyway, I drove up to the shops, and somebody pulled in front of me, and my reaction, I said to my wife with a smile on my face, "That was cheeky." Right? That was just it was a noticing of it, and very light-hearted response, not feeling slighted or wronged in any way, because it wasn't about me. It was about them, wasn't it? For them, it was about them. They're in a hurry or something, whatever. But I mean, it was just. So what's the difference? What's the difference when that happens for me like that, and I can, in a light-hearted way, just make a comment about how cheeky it was that they did that, compared to getting angry with somebody who does it?
Well, I think that's why it confused me, because I definitely see reactions, but I can watch them now.
Yes.
I'm not in them.
And when you watch them, they are different. They'll change.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
do the normal thing when you're watching them. They can't. They're embarrassed
Yeah.
to do their normal thing.
Yeah. Like sometimes if somebody cuts me up or does something, I can see the reaction, but I can quite enjoy saying, oh,
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
something.
yeah. It's again, it's the attitude you've got. It's the emotion behind it that tells you what's happening. So if you get into a serious place, you go, "Oh, hello, there's something going on here, right? There's something. This is telling me something about myself."
Yeah. So it's not, I don't know if she probably does make that clear. So it's not so much that reacting, it's that you're not identifying. The reaction comes and goes without the identification with it. It's
Yes,
like, oh, I got angry there. That's interesting.
And
That's
any defensive kind of reaction is what we're talking about when we say selfing. Now, if it is in the early days, you might be able to classify it as Feta 1 stuff, but maybe. So here's a trick, and I went through this with somebody recently. You call on your intuition, whatever that is. We can't specify that, but if you call on your intuition and ask it, how seriously did I take that? Was it just a bit that had never been triggered, and it popped up, and as soon as it popped up on the way up, even I saw it happening and recognized that it was just a bit of old a bit of old habit? Or does it pop up and it's saying to you, there's something here? You know what I mean? You gotta ask yourself, what is the feeling that goes along with this? Is it a serious thing, or is it just a bit of old habit that's come along? So if it's just a bit of old habit, then you're going to say, no, it's not that I haven't broken Feta 1 at all. But if it's serious defensive stuff, then yeah, there's a bit more work to do there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because there's lots of things that are quite easy for me now, like traffic and things like that, and other things that aren't so easy, like feeling I'm missing out, that ties into a childhood thing.
Yes.
So there's a
Yeah.
bit of a reaction.
Yep.
I can still
Get
see
good
it,
at
I
picking
can
it.
watch it, but there's a bit of a spark to it.
Yes.
There's still a bit of spark, like that hurts.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're the ones to invite in, to embrace, to go towards.
Yeah. And the other ones I think are quite funny sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And when you're feeling good, they don't come up so much. You know, if you're feeling tired or sick, that's when things will come up a lot easier. Or when you're with your family, you know, go home and visit your parents. That'll bring it on, for sure.
Yeah, when I'm in one of my really bad spaces, it's like batten down the hatches, let everybody go away. I can't. I'm like, anything can trigger me. Anything, paranoia, trigger. I'm like super sensitive. It's just awful. Especially if I've got to do something like go and see the kids or something. It's like, oh God, this is going to be painful. But
you could call it hypervigilance, and of course that's exhausting. You've got to be there for a couple of hours and you're buggered. You haven't got any energy left. It takes a lot of energy to be constantly looking over your shoulder.
Yeah. It's a lot of that childhood, that stuff coming up, trauma, that's really icky, really dark.
Just remember though, you don't have to dig it out and see the details of it. Just recognizing where it comes from can be enough to let it go.
I agree. I'm seeing that. It's like, oh, this is the child. This is what I felt. This is how bad it was. You know, just acknowledging it was bad, you know, and unbearable at times. Dark, not knowing what was happening, what to do.
Well, if you spend your whole childhood in survival mode, that's a lot of habit stuff to get through as well.
Yeah.
And it's a frightening place. It's amazing how many people do spend their whole childhood, every waking moment of their childhood in survival mode.
Yeah, I just realizing now at my age that I've disassociated most of my life, you know. I've been in escapism, and it's really weird because when I'm not in it, you know, there's such a flow and there's so much emptiness. I can only just space and flow, like it's clearly no one's here. And yet that stuff, that dream seems so real, of past and child and trauma and abuse. It's kind of crazy making to blip into two worlds like that.
Yep.
In and out, black and white.
And it's tricky too, because in a way, and this sounds a bit weird, but in a way we don't want to give that up. You know, what we don't want to give up is the way we've discovered to cope with it, even if that's really shitty, even if that's really not at all pleasant. It's familiar, and we get attached to that familiarity. And so it's almost like taking a present off a child. You know, they don't want to let go of it, and you're pulling it off them, kind of thing. So there can be grief involved with giving up that stuff as well.
yeah, I totally see that. I don't want to let go of that ego defense. I want
so
that wall.
that's part of the problem. A lot of our mental shenanigans, the fantasies that we come up with, actually made us feel good. And it's like we're going to have to give up them as well.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. That I'm going to have to give up them. That protective layer seems protective.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't have to, you're not going to give it up per se. You're just going to recognize that there's better ways to do it. So you won't be giving it up as such. It'll just become unnecessary because you'll have better ways to do it. See, it's like there's an interesting, without getting into the philosophical side of things, what is our base nature as human beings? What is our base nature? Well, if you're a Christian, you'll say, oh, well, you were born in sin and you got to spend your whatever their story is. I don't know. So it depends. Different cultures will have different things, you know. But what I see is that our base nature is a relaxed, happy person with great compassion and empathy for other people. That's what we are. If we give up any of the what Penilla calls the post-it notes that we stick on over the top of reality to make it because we think we're making it better. But take away all those post-it notes, and what we've got left with is a relaxed, loving, open, spontaneous, authentic person. All of us. That's our nature. We don't have to worry that if we let go of everything, the devil will get hold of us. That's not going to happen. The devil's there because of all of the things we try to do to fix it up. So getting back.
Yeah, we're just always that innocent baby, really. Yes. That being that without all the layers of conditioning and thoughts and beliefs and I'm bad and this and that. And, you know, it's frustrating to know that that's the absolute truth. I've seen it. And yet there's all this stuff piled on top of that you're trying to plow through that's not even real, but you've got to go through it. Or it seems you've got to go through it,
Yeah, well, everything's conditioned us that way, right from school to our friends, our parents. Everybody's been pushing on us the whole time, you know, to be smart and do this and do that and don't do this and don't do that. And where do we get a chance to see what happens if we just float, if we just relax and float on life? We never get that chance, but this is a chance for that. That's why I kind of laugh when I think about stories of am I through fetter one or what fetter is it or whatever, you know. It's like, well, you know, that's just creating tension. Let's just float. It's a lot easier. We don't have to worry about any of that. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Bianca? You always look deep in thought.
Yeah, I'm thinking about also how I was numbing myself to the emotions, and I remember it so early. I give an example. In kindergarten, when I was 4 years old, we were given sandwiches for breakfast with marmalade. You know, this thing you put on bread, it's called different in different versions of English, so I'm not sure.
I know marmalade, yep.
And there were different kinds of marmalade. It was one big tray for a table of 6 children, and there was yellow marmalade that no one liked, and I didn't. It was hated, and at my table there was a boy who was a bit of a bully. And he always told me to lick the yellow marmalade from the sandwich, so he can eat only bread and butter.
He didn't mind your spit.
No. and I've thought through it, and in his mind, it is humiliating, and he's trying to humiliate me, but it's just licking the marmalade. It's just it. And it tastes the taste is not so good, but it's not making me gag or something.
Yeah.
It's nothing. And I licked the marmalade of the sandwiches. I just decided it's not a big deal. And I had my barriers because when he told me to eat the milk skins, I said, no. It makes me nauseous to eat the milk skins. I won't do it, and there is no reason for that. I can understand him that he wants to eat bread and butter without the marmalade, but milk skins, we just take it off and put it on the plate. Why should I eat it? So yeah, as this 4-year-old, I was very thoughtful. I don't know. There was a lot of thinking through, but it was reasonable, but I think there was this humiliation. I just didn't let myself feel it because I decided, but it's unreasonable.
It's like talking yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the same. I actually recently noticed that how good I am at that, talking myself out. It's nothing, like I can deal with that. It's okay. I'm okay with that. You minimize that experience, and you learn to cope with that, to deal with that, so it doesn't really affect you as harshly.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is disassociation, isn't it? So in a way, what you did when you agreed to lick the jam, the marmalade off, that was a way of you not feeling humiliated. When he asked you to do the milk skin, you jacked up. You said no, so you weren't humiliated anymore, but you were prepared to have a fight, because if he's a bully, that's what he's threatening you with, isn't he? He's threatening you with a fight if you don't do what he says. But when you stood up to him and said, no, I'm not going to eat the milk skin, he probably backed down, eh?
Yeah, he was just testing.
Yeah.
How far I will do anything he says.
Yeah. But one of the ways that we do especially as a really young infant, before we can even talk, one of the ways we'll cope with trauma is to shut down our sensations, right? We disassociate from the actual thing that's going on. And the consequence of that later on is when you feel numb, when there's a numbness to instead of reacting with something, you react with a deadening. Now that's yeah, something that can happen. But for all of us, for the value of all of this is for us to notice, not even to be able to describe it, just to notice that we are reacting and what that reaction is. And that gives us the opportunity to allow alternatives to come in, just to see what it is and to see better ways of doing it.
Mm.
I can't stress enough
And
how potent it is to simply be aware of what's going on, to notice what's going on, to see it without running away from it. Sorry, Bianca, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's at that time I thought my reaction was really smart, and you know, not to get triggered into arguing, shouting, or crying, but I can take it so stoically. Not the word I would use at that time. But,
Oh, it worked beautifully, didn't it? It stopped you from feeling humiliation. Perfect. Yeah.
And it's also kept you safe because you know, like he didn't attack you.
He probably was never going to attack you, though. He's just, as a bully, he's good at threats, but carrying them out's another story, by himself anyway. Yeah.
yes, but it was this, that he was trying to manipulate me into crying or shouting, and
Yes.
I didn't give in.
No satisfaction. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. And this seems so good. Don't react. Don't react. Just don't react. They will get bored. They will go away.
It's a bit like playing dead, you know, that like phrase response, you know, you just
Yeah.
play dead and they get disinterested. So they stop, you know, like it's like cat and mouse, you know, like cat is playing with that mouse and mouse just like, I'm dead. So it's kind of, you know, like gets bored and not touching it. It's like psyche is so smart, it just does anything for survival, anything to get us through any situation.
Yeah. And I guess what we're learning here when we discover the illusion of the self is that we're starting to recognize that we don't need to be in survival mode anymore. We don't have saber-toothed tigers around the corner or mammoths or a herd of buffaloes that are going to run us over. They're not there, you know. I mean, of course, there's still danger around, but we can cope with it in a really relaxed manner. We know not to walk in front of cars, and we know how to dodge people on the footpath and all of that.
I was thinking, but that now it I can. I think these emotions that I was numb to, I couldn't even feel it. They are still in the body, and they are acting still now, but it's hard for me to get to them because I didn't feel it at the time. There was a lot of feeling socially awkward and socially inept, and but it was also numbed down. Like in high school, yes, we had school desk for 2 persons. And through the whole, I realized only after when I finished my studies or something, but through the whole high school, I was the only person in my class that was always sitting alone. I didn't even realize it because it was so normal.
Mm, mm. And talking
no
of that
feelings.
normal, what you're going to find too, as you start to experience some of these emotions that you've not had much experience with, that they can be a little frightening in themselves. You can often feel like some of those emotions might get out of hand if you let them go. And in fact, we often do see that. We often see people who come from a really low self-esteem, and when they get enough self-esteem to be a little bit confident, they can be a bit over the top, a bit over, too much. So, yeah. But that's just part of learning, that's just part of coming to grips with this new emotion that we hadn't had much experience with. So we can be happy, but we can be a bit too happy for other people. They don't like to see us laughing and skipping. They want us to be a bit more muted. Yeah. So anyway, it's just a thought that comes up. Yeah. There's a bit
It's
of
like,
novelty there.
it's like if you have been like on a scale on one side, like you're really pushing yourself on one side, compressing yourself, then you spring out and you just automatically go on the other side until you get into balance. You balance yourself out and then you settle down. Because if you've been in minus, you automatically go in the plus. It's just like the way system is working until it's, like that swing becomes less and less and less and you stabilize in the middle.
Yeah. But even in that
That's
stable
what I have to
state,
say.
we're still going up and down.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
still a
but
much
just
higher
that swing
always.
is not as big and you're not sitting on one side or the other side. But I have noticed there is always, like if you notice some mechanism and you kind of release that mechanism, it goes like overcompensation for a while. If you've been suppressing your boundaries and you just like kind of release that lock, like release that mechanism, you just start to become like very harsh and not assertive, but like, like you really just like, not here. But then, yeah, it stabilizes.
It's all learning.
It's all amazing when you look at that.
It is.
Just love to talk about trauma. I'm just, like I'm just digging through all them books and just listening and just more and more and just investigating all them coping mechanisms and nervous systems and everything. I'm just like yum yum yum. Such a good stuff. And it's not, like it's not like you're just listening books, reading books and learning all that stuff, because like more you kind of discover like knowledge, you can notice all this here, and then it becomes like you apply all knowledge in the life itself, and just, oh, this is that, and this is this. Oh, this how it's working. Oh, yeah, that's what they said in the book. It's just like recognizing all that in yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I like the best.
Yeah. Well, it's what happens all the time. So when we're here and we're talking, some stuff will resonate and some stuff won't. You know, when you're reading a book, something resonates with you, you grab it, you know. That's how we evolve. We adopt the things that feel right for us.
Mm.
Well, I think that about this, how it is smart to not react. I think I've read it in a book, so don't believe books.
Oh, well, everything's out there. Everything and the opposite of everything is all out there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a trick, isn't it? We're saying believe in yourself, but then we're saying, yeah, well, you can't believe your thoughts. Well, and examine your sensations. So it's like you can't believe in yourself either. But it's a different not believing. It's not so much a rejection, but rather an investigating and putting it into a proper perspective or something. I don't know how to put that, but yeah. So you go to a psychologist and they're going to, you know, if you're in a fragile state, now they're going to try and solidify your ego and give you some self-esteem, and they talk about having a purpose in life and having meaning in life, and I can see how that's a really good thing for people who are in a certain state. But here we are saying that none of that has any real relevance, and dropping all of that stuff, not chasing it, is absolutely the best. It's like, wow, yeah, that's freedom. So it's kind of like, it's a paradox, isn't it, in a way? So when I say I recognize that there is no meaning in my life, what I say is that anything that I might describe as meaningful is just a story that I overlay on something. There's no inherent meaning in anything. It's a trick.
Sometimes knowledge can feed the ego as well, you know, like all the therapists and I've been to have got so much knowledge, and they can kind of stick a plaster on it and it feels good, but it's fixing my ego, you know, it's making the prison a bit more comfortable until 6 months later, you know, the plaster comes off again, and the deep trauma. I'm not saying therapists are not good, I think they are. Certain bits do drift through, but I can get very caught up in, you know, I hear people talking about things like I heard, I've forgotten what his name is, something McDonald talking about internal family systems. Oh my God, I am so interested in that. And I go off on tangents into wanting to know everything about it to fix myself. And I'm not sure if that's a bit of a distraction, really. I still really want to learn it, but I don't know. I think there's so many rabbit holes to go down with these things. So I'm really trying to follow my intuition with that, and I have to keep it simple anyway with what I've got, this illness. So yeah, just pondering that. And another thing, as you were talking, that came up for me is, that's coming up for me a lot is because it seems, sounds very victim of this, but because I'm seeing that how brutal my childhood was, and all that pain, and how I'd learned to disassociate from it for so long. When I came into non-duality 6 years ago, and quite quickly seemed to have this, what Angela calls a first awakening and a honeymoon period, where all the beliefs seemed to drop for quite a long period of time, actually, and the relief of it, and then everything, you know, the shoe dropped, and then kind of going into the body and into the trauma. It's very difficult to go into that stuff again, you know, to even for a second, to go into the pain again, because when you're in it, it seems like it's like non-duality doesn't exist, and everything you've learned doesn't exist. It's like going back to before non-duality.
Mm.
You know, you actually feel like you're in that place again. That's horrible. That hell that's horrible, and it's quite difficult to cope with that, because although I spring back like now, at the time it doesn't feel like I'm ever going to spring back, because you're living through it. I'm walking through it, which that's what I've heard people say you have to do. So that seems good, but it's
Shocking too, though.
takes a lot.
That you need to do it, yeah. So let's put it this way then. The non-duality thing that you had is like a plaster that came off.
Yeah.
Mm.
The seeming awakening was another plaster, and the disappointment in that was incredible, because I thought I got it. I thought, this is it. I'm awake, I'm enlightened. I did a couple of talks, thought it was it. And then there was something in me that just said, something's off here. There's some ego in here. And then this. So yeah, definitely.
It's
plaster.
wrong to think that you weren't awake. You probably, I mean, that's a stupid thing to say anyway, awake, but you probably were awake at the time. But it was all this other stuff was still under there, right? And it was really just like the plaster over the top of.
Yes.
So what we've got to do is work through all this other stuff and get it out of the road, so that when you experience that stuff, there's no pull back into it, when you lost it.
Yeah, because I was just writing or something this morning that there's a fear that, oh, well, you can have it all again and all those beliefs will drop. And you've seen that it's all rubbish. Your thoughts are rubbish, the beliefs are rubbish. But what's the point? Because you'll see through it again, and then you'll be thrown back into hell again.
Yes,
there's a bit of that.
That's not going to happen this time, because you're not just seeing through it as such. You're not getting. It won't be like it was before. You won't have that just that pure bliss state that you had before, right? This time, when you're through, you'll be going, oh, gee, this is really normal. This is so ordinary. I wonder if it's actually happening. It'll be like that, rather than that honeymoon period that you had before. Right?
It was quite ordinary as well, though.
Yeah, well, it will be, yeah.
What I expected was very, very ordinary. It wasn't, I couldn't say it was bliss, no way.
Oh, good. All right.
It was just awake. It was just seeing through the thought structures and the belief systems, just them all dropping, and like, that's thought, that's thought, that's thought, that's a belief, which I can't seem to do now, but I could then.
Right, yeah, but so it's important to appreciate that changed you, that experience. You haven't lost it. It's there. It's in you, right? It's part of you.
Yeah.
To know that, but it's like trying to remember something. You just can't quite get it. It's on the tip of your tongue, so to speak.
Mm.
You can't quite slip into it. Because there's something, and it's because this other stuff just needs to be worked through.
Yeah.
Until it's worked through and dismissed, it'll always be there having a pull.
Yeah.
So I wonder how many people in non-duality have exactly the same kind of experience, maybe their own version of it, but the same kind of thing happens to them. They get it, they're there, and then something happens and suddenly they're not there anymore. And they think they've lost it, but they haven't.
Yeah.
They've just, this other stuff has just come to the fore again, that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. A lot. And quite tempting to leave non-duality, like, oh, this is making me feel even worse. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to do that, hopefully, but I can imagine a lot of people do.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen lots of people from, have this first awakening that I was around and become speakers. And I look at them and obviously it's projection, but I think it's not the whole thing.
No, that's right.
Talking about,
and it's one
there's
of the
no one
reasons,
here, nothing happening, and that's all we can speak about all the time.
yeah, that's one of the reasons why so many people have got these really weird expectations that get in the road of waking up, because they do hear a lot of those people only talk about their peak experience, that first shift, and they don't tell all the other, and they're not honest often either. They don't tell about the times they lose it after that, which of course they do. That's if they never really did, I'd be going, oh yeah, okay, that's interesting. But yeah,
and I think it's quite easy to stay. I think some of them you can stay in that unless you get really honest with yourself and feel that offness, because it's like anything else. It's like these power people on YouTube who train themselves to be like that. They believe it. And you can have it as a belief that there's no one there, that nothing's happening.
Yep.
It's quite an easy belief, and it's, in a sense, it's quite a nice life, but
yeah. Well, a lot of the non-duality people they say, yeah, there's no one there, but I am awareness, or I am consciousness. So they're still identifying just with something else, They might as well say, well, I am God, except that they don't want to upset the Christians.
Yeah, no, it's not that sort of lineage of the awareness. They don't believe in awareness. It's more, nothing's happening. There is no one and nothing's happening. I'm just emptiness. It sounds very, it's talking very much from the absolute, and I'm sure some of them are completely, utterly awakened. They've had one of those sort of Eckhart Tolle and perhaps Pernilla, one of those awakenings where everything just goes bang, like Tony Parsons, and then they're teaching in that way, but it's not the same for everyone. To have that whole ego death all at once, the whole dropping away of it.
Yeah, one of the things that the people who
say there's no one.
Sorry.
Where then it's easy to say there's no one because there isn't, and when it's all dropped away, there's. Yeah,
and one of the reasons why people go and do talks about it and teach it, so to speak, is that keeps them in that state.
That's it. That's it. Just like you might teach self-empowerment or other things.
It's actually not any different. It's not any different what Bianca was saying. You just talk yourself out of. you talk yourself into, you know, like there is no one here, nothing is happening. And it's no different, you know, like as a child, you just learn to cope with things.
Well, yeah, it's like
So-
dissociation in a sense.
Just on a deeper level, maybe.
Yeah.
One thing that I've appreciated about you, Vince, and Pernilla too, is the like authenticity that I pick up, and when you share experiences that you have, times when anger has arisen, like you're not so careful to protect this this image or, you know, persona of somebody who has figured everything out and everything is amazing all the time, and you never have any reactivity or anything like that. It's so real that when you share those, and that it has really helped me like see I don't know, the human the human in you, and that it's a distinction between other people that I have tried to learn from, who are trying to like put up this barrier and communicate this like, I've got everything figured out and everything is perfect all the time and I have all the answers and nothing ever. There's like this hierarchy of like, I'm better, I've got everything figured out, and you have to learn from me. I don't get that from you, and I think that's one thing that brings me back and makes me really appreciate your approach to this.
Well, it's not. Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, and but it's not an approach. I mean, there again, it's like you have to turn around and apply these post-it notes or these stories to what happens, you know, sometimes. And so if I have an intention, the intention is to be authentic, to be spontaneous. So it's got to the point where self-consciousness about it isn't there. So I mean, it does happen. I do get self-conscious from time to time, but I don't apologize for what comes out of my mouth. That's it. It just, you know, and it's not, but I don't do that. That's just the way it happens. It's just the way it's evolved here for me. But there's also this thing that I believe, and one of the reasons why I started these groups was because I think it's really important for people. Expectations are what gets in the road of most people's awakening. Expectations, and so me being me is a way of me saying, get rid of your stupid expectations. You know, this what's real. We're people. We're human. We are what we are. There's you know, we're not trying to be God or anything like that, because that's just another stupid story, isn't it? But yeah, so anyway, you get what you see with me. Yeah. And I don't.
There's less of a, you just made me realize that I think earlier in my life, there was this sort of, well, the word through much of it was enlightenment. And it was black and white. Either you were fully enlightened, and this was reserved for a very select few people throughout the history of humanity, or you weren't. And I recall now a moment at the retreat that I went at with Angelo. He was doing a conversation with someone, and he said something like, "It sounds like you're awake." And it was less of a black and white and more of a like, you've gotten a taste of this. Like there's it's more of a spectrum than it is a complete on or off switch. And seeing that has been really helpful for me, and knowing that you can have, you were mentioning earlier about the or maybe Anna, it was you, like the tiny drops of no huge shift, but just, I've used the analogy of like a frog in a pot of boiling water. Like it's not getting dropped in the pot. You start off and the water's cold, and slowly slowly things change. I don't realize that analogy isn't quite quite right, but
Yeah, well, I get it. Yeah.
hearing from teachers, and that a gradual shift is possible, was something that unlocked things for me. I could still have struggles and stress and emotions arise, and yet also have things evolve.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And if you were to, I mean, I couldn't do it because of my memory, I suppose, however that comes over. But if I was to track everything that happened during the day today, I would say I've been awake and asleep a dozen times every day. So, I mean, but that's a stupid thing to say anyway, but you get my drift, you know, that things happen and we respond, and how we respond isn't the issue. How we feel about how we respond is where the issue is. So, yeah. So I don't know. Sometimes I catch myself saying something or doing something, thinking something, and it would be easy to put a judgmental story to it, or to overlay an opinion about what it is. But it's like, why bother? What is the point of all that? You know, I'm not going to achieve anything by writing down and categorizing what's happened during the day. It's just, there it is. Yeah.
I had the same story created, Jeremy. You know, like you're either or not. So it was so important, you know, like to learn this process for majority of people actually is very gradual process, not just like one boom, that's it, you done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're happy ever after.
Yeah. People a lot, like
All problems sorted.
over the years, I've worked with a lot of people on the forum, and I tell you, every single one of them that has had a big shift, a big epiphany, and a big bells and whistles thing have been visited by doubts at some point usually within weeks or months of that happening. Every one of them would be going, oh yeah, I wonder if I'm really there now. It's gone. That thing I had is gone. Yeah. We can't sustain that. We can't live in that state all the time. That's just not being human. Yeah.
I don't even know what I never got this, so I'm like, no, like I'm listening, and every time when I hear this, I'm just like, what are they actually talking about? Because I can't recognize it. I never got it. So I never got anything, so I never lost anything. There was a recognition. There was a recognition of this, this, which is always here. But I also recognize that before the shift, it's just like after shift, it's like all the time here. You kind of don't need to look or tune into it because it's all the time here. But that's all. That's all. And when people talk about, you know, blisses or honeymoons, it's just like, I never got mine.
Yeah.
So I've been left out of my honeymoon.
You're better off not having one, Anna. Total disappointment when it goes.
I'm just like, here, Anna, trauma, shadow work, just keep working, just dive in, just
Yeah.
dig, go. Black mouse, black hands, just dig and big spade, go.
Well, I got that when I got the disappointment. All people having these feelings and trauma, and I was like, well, why haven't I got that? I need to work through all that. So I was missing out on the other side of it. Everyone was wanting this awakening and honeymoon, and I was wanting, well, where's the other side with all the stuff that I've got to go through until it came. But when you were talking, when Jeremy was talking about appreciation for you, Vince, I mean, I feel the same. You know, you just know when you meet someone, and the same with you, that there's an energy about them, a quality. Not even that, it's more of an emptiness, really. And I really appreciate those people who are empty, because it's really obvious that you've got nothing to prove, you know. You can tell there's still something there when somebody seems to have something to prove, or, you know, there's a calmness about them. It's like there's so much relaxation in that space when I speak to you, Vince, and other people who've emptied out a lot, you know, whether they're fully emptied out doesn't really matter, but that degrees of emptying out, the solidity of separate self, and it's really I'm really grateful for people like you and Angelo, Penel, Todd, because I was in the desert for so long after the radical speakers like Tony Parsons, who, yeah, I definitely think Tony Parsons is amazing, is completely emptied out, you know. But I needed to hear all the other side of it that you guys facilitate and help people with. It took me a while to find you guys and know what was going on, you know.
Well, I was a seeker for over 40 years, so I know what you mean by the difficulty in finding. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially for when it wasn't so popular, that everyone wasn't waking up, and this was all over YouTube, which you probably went through that as well, Vince.
Well, there was no YouTube when I started out.
Yeah.
No internet when I started
People
out.
say that.
Yeah.
Pioneer, you're a pioneer, Vince.
I heard Angelo saying he could speak, you know, he could use that language and talk from that place where Tony Person is speaking, and other people like that. But he said it's not beneficial for majority of people, you know, listening to him, because he says, like, I normally get to the level where they're speaking from. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no point in speaking at people, is there? Yeah. But when
you know, like, if I speak, you know, like, to majority of people I know personally, and start talk to them, oh, that's just a thought, you know, just go into sensations, they can't do that. They actually can't do that.
yeah,
So,
well,
you know, like,
yeah, you're fast approaching the point where you'll forget what it was like to be a normal person.
yeah.
You
And
had any of that,
you know,
Jeremy?
and you know what? If I always actually felt like I've been an outcast, now it's even more.
It reminds me of what I think, Vince, you were saying earlier about, like, when you read a book, there are certain things that resonate with you, certain things that don't. And I remember learning a while ago, like, when you're learning anything, whatever the content is can't be too far removed from what you already know. Like there has to be like it needs to be a gradual thing that you fit into this, you know, body of experience and knowledge that you have. And I think like Anne, what you were talking about earlier with the Tony Parsons or others who are speaking from this place that is just completely not resonating with anything from my experience or understanding, like it's so out of reach. And having it be put into terms and experiences that I can better relate to and understand. I think that's one of the things that I like about the fetters, is that it starts with a bite-sized chunk that is more within reach, instead of going immediately to non-duality and nothingness and emptiness. I'm like, none of this is none of this is landing. I don't even know what to do with this information. It sounds great, but I don't.
I think you know, it's horses for courses, isn't it? I mean, I couldn't listen to Tony Parsons for a long time, and I was listening to him the other day, and I can appreciate him again, and I know he's the real deal. And for me, I had to have it that way. I would never have done shadow work, trauma work, all of this if I'd have come into it this way. And I did. I came in through Muji, Rupert Spear. It didn't even touch me. I even went and lived at the Muji camp. Didn't touch me, but Tony Parsons got through to me, and I had to see. I actually had a memory of being a baby, or I thought I did. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But that showed me, yeah, this is how it all started. I started with nothing. I started empty, and those gaps became so huge in his meeting, because the energy in his meetings, to me, I used to be turning around to everyone going, can you feel that energy? Can you feel what's going on? What's the energy? And it was so empty. I had to come that way. I had to look over the mountain and see where I was going, so that I could have I wouldn't have stuck in it otherwise. I wouldn't have gone through what I have to go through now if I hadn't seen the light at first. Glimpse. I get that strong glimpse that loads of people have had, but I had it there. I do think some people, the whole thing drops, you know, and he's good for them. And some others not. Horses for courses. He's definitely the real deal. I don't think he's just. I think some people are copying him, but I think he's responding exactly like a baby. Just responds to what he's here. That's why he's so rude sometimes, because he's not reading into it. He's just responding to what he hears. It's he's quite hilarious actually sometimes. But that's just my take on it.
I've caught myself a couple of times talking with people. I think I was talking with you, Anna, at one stage, and it was like that, talking from that place that Tony talks from, right? But not quite, but getting up there a little bit. So we're talking about, you know, Feta 8 really the last remnants of I am, and Feta 6 and 7 about form and formless. When we start talking about that kind of stuff, you're talking in a similar way to the way he might talk, but he's probably talking post Feta 10 stuff really, but nevertheless. But I found that when I did, like, I felt that I was alienating most of the people who were listening to me. I was only really talking to one person or two at the time, but people who had already had a similar experience but were still having a little struggle with that. So I'm talking at that level with them, but nobody else knows what the hell I'm talking about. It's like I alienated everybody else.
Yeah.
That felt uncomfortable for me. So then I'm back to this. I want to talk at a level that everybody can understand or grasp at, but in a kind of a leading edge way. I want everybody to kind of just grasp a little bit, go forward a little bit, you know, but not such a big step that they can't make it.
Mhm.
That's, you know, but I mean, I don't plan that. It's just the way it happens, you know. You know, I'm just human. I just want to be liked. So I want to give you what you need, what you want, whatever. I don't know. Yeah. So Tony's going to be talking to the converted most of the time, or at least the almost converted, maybe.
I think he's just talking to anyone, and if it hits home, it hits home.
Mm.
I mean, I didn't go through any stages, or it just hit me. It just hit me when the gap just opened up, and I fell through it for a time. Don't know, maybe I just realized awareness, who knows?
Yep.
But definitely something hit me, and it was but not certainly nowhere near finished, you know.
Well, there is no
only the
finish.
beginning.
This is the point. There
Yeah.
is no finished.
Yeah.
You're ever going to get to the point where you've got it all? I don't know. I think not. At least not for me, anyway. So again, that kind of makes it doesn't make sense to me to talk about finished, or even in stages are a little bit tricky as well, but certainly not finished. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
It's like David McDonald. He just, you know, like dropped all 10 feathers and such a deep dive into trauma now. He talks about that IFS and all this stuff. And Christian also, you know, like she dropped 10 feathers like a while ago, but then like all these health issues, and then she went through, and there was like a trauma stuff underneath all that. So it really is like never ending.
Yeah,
Disintegrating
the
and
video you
integrating.
recommended, Anna, is really good about
Yeah,
the trauma.
yeah.
Thank you for that. It's really helpful.
You're welcome. Because I've seen Christian has a group on Facebook, and she shared that video, and then that's how I came across that Pain-Free You. And like I really found his stuff very, very good. Like he says about creating, you know, them danger signals and all this. And talk to your brain, you know, like when I talk to brain, I'm like, I'm talking to that child within, you know, like, and really just do that like Susan. And it really creates that like a safe space, so you can hold whatever is coming up. Because if there is fear, there is, you know, it's pointless. Oh, everything is okay, there is nothing dangerous, and it just doesn't work. System just doesn't accept it. So you really need to sit and just like soothe it. It might take even hours, days, you know, like until you just feel, oh, I want to feel it, I want to go in. I just like a big click. But that's when system is ready to take it, ready to be open for that. But without creating that safety container, I find from my experience, it's very hard to hold, you know, like to be in the body, to hold some whatever that is coming up. So yeah, for me, it was very important to get that like masculine safety, so that feminine can hold, can start, you know, like taking it in and just soothing and all this.
Yeah, this is a big one. David Bonnie often comes up with that and corrects me for overindulging with this one, but because I talk in absolutes a lot of the time, being comfortable isn't what we're after, but being scared out of our wits is not what we're after either. So we want that Goldilocks zone in between, where there's a bit of juice, but not too much juice, not so much juice that we want to run away from it. Just enough juice to work with.
Because if there is fear and you feel afraid of it, like system just like refuses, no.
Yeah.
But if there is, and then you kind of just, you know, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I'm holding you, and you really talk like loudly to yourself, and then yeah, there's like a switch. You just like, oh, that curiosity like wakes up. Oh, I actually want to feel it. I'm okay with this. It's like a step forward, and you feel it, like physically feel it like this.
Yep. Yeah.
Speaking of things
But I-
waking up, my my distraction is awake again. We got a puppy a couple weeks ago.
A big puppy.
I got a,
Some
yeah, she's a
puppy, that's some size of a puppy.
she's a Newfoundland poodle mix. So
Oh,
she's gonna be
Wow.
huge. She's only 4 months.
Oh my God, Jeremy.
I know. I'm in love.
and she's got the poodle hair, the poodle wool rather than the dog hair.
Yep.
Yeah, great. So she won't shed. Excellent. Yeah.
But
We've got a labradoodle, a
Oh.
mid-sized labradoodle, and when she gets on the, she can take up the whole bed. That thing is not going to give you any room on the bed.
Yeah, but I gotta run. We gotta go outside. Thank you all. It's been great.
Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah.
I was thinking about this fakeness radar. Like what I was talking about, that some people talking about non-duality seem fake to me, and it's well, I know I can't really tell. It's not about reality. It's just how I feel. But there is there's such a strong sense. It's fake or it's like the YouTube gave me before I started coming to meetings here. A lot of non-duality speakers, and most of them seem nuts to me. Over excited, no. And then I saw Suzanne Chang, and it was like, she's a real deal. I just know. So I wonder if it's really about fakeness and authenticity, or it's just a label that I give to it, but it's something else. It's but in general, it's good to follow it, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, recognizing what resonates with you would be the positive side of rejecting what doesn't resonate with the fakeness. Yeah. But getting sensitive to that stuff and trusting it, it's important. And we're not talking about any absolute. If we say something feels fake, we're not really talking about whether it's true or untrue. We're really talking about its relevance to us. But what comes up for us, what gives us that, what gives us the impetus to call it fake, is a dis-ease Right? We don't feel comfortable with it for some reason, and that could be because it's because it's a long way from resonating with us that we feel that way. So whether it's an accurate description of something absolute or not is totally irrelevant. It's how we respond to it that's the important one.
I find this process very fascinating, how that is unfolding on its own and unexpected way, completely. Not anything I could think, I did think the way it's going to happen, nothing like that. And everything what is happening, I couldn't even think about it. And there is just like something comes up and just like, sometimes it's like something comes up and there's like a box of enigma, and you just, like looking for a key to open it, and then you open it, let it out, get it, like all absorbed, all worked out, and like a like a phase of a peace and settlement settles down, and then like a next thing again, and you work through that. And every time, like something comes, it just seems so big. Like you don't know from what side to approach it, how to handle that. But once you open it, once you're through it, oh, okay, nothing, not a big deal. I can do that. And like, oh yeah, next time this thing comes up, like I know now what to do. And next time it's like, here, what is this? What do I do with this?
La cita se está acabando ahora o si va a durar más. Creo que está acabando.
It's amazing how big things look before. when you first face them and how little they look when you finish with them.
Mm-hmm. Even you know, them fears, when they start to come up, it's just like mine just like getting so that panic mode and just like, let's do something, just like no, 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 no. And then once you go through all that, no, there was nothing really there, just some sensations, some thoughts, a wee bit of panicking, but that's all. And you just go through that, no problem at all. And then something else. And that's like stepping into unknown all the time, all the time.
Mm.
Completely unpredictable, completely. It's just like uncertainty, unpredictability, unknown all the time, all the time.
Yeah.
An interesting thing what comes here is like more you go through all them things and like more you kind of, I don't know, like this selfing mechanism, whatever that is, and like more you like, I don't know, deepening into this like sense of presence, I am, whatever that is. And it's like another day was just like control what? You know, like to control what? It was like that controlling thing, like anything happens, it's already here, it's already is happening, like and anything, the way that's is resolving, it is resolving, and like all is just life itself, like what control. And then you know, like, and then there is no worry about no controlling, there is no even need to control, there is no like, no such thing as control is like needed. I don't know. It's so hard to put that in words.
Now, one of the things that I find a bit frustrating is the difficulty in getting across that no matter what comes up, what you can imagine, all these things that could come up, no matter what comes up, whether it's seen clearly or whether it's just a dark, something in a dark room or something like that, no matter what it is, no matter what comes up, it's not the issue. The issue is how you feel about it.
Yeah.
So
What
how do we
mind
stop
makes
looking
about
at
it.
what comes up? How do we stop being fascinated by what's in front of us and freeze everything? So there's us and there's this thing in front of us. And then what we'll do is we'll walk around to the side and we'll look at it from side on. Instead of being in it, we're looking at what it is. We're looking at how we feel about it rather than what it is. So it's a trick, isn't it? So when we get lost in an emotional reaction to something, the issue is not the emotional reaction. It's not what we're lost in. It's how we feel about it when we can objectify it and see what happened. That's where the juice is. That's where all the work is. It's not, definitely never in the thing that swallows us up, the emotion that's about something. It's always about how we feel about that. Getting, I mean, the trick is that you've got to get out of it in order to see it. But if you focus on seeing it, that is a way of getting out of it. But you don't want, but that's not the purpose. It's not just to get out of it and end it, but rather to see what's behind it and why it's there. No,
It's like another day, like something like longing came up, like longing, and it's just, you know, I just like dragging down and just like heaviness and like sadness and aloneness, that type of thing, you know, like if you describe what it's, and you're very hard to put in words again. And then I remember what Todd said, you know, like he says, it's just like weather patterns. You know, like a weather pattern.
Weather pattern, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And he's and then I remembered this, and I just thought, like, if there is like a dark, heavy autumn day is out there, you know, like with heavy black clouds, and it just like all this heaviness, and it just feels like this. Like you don't do anything about it. It's just there. It's just like it's just the way it is. And I remember I was sitting like this because I was at work and I saw all just here. Like, okay, that's aloneness now. And so what? Just feel into that. And you know, like if you want to integrate and if you want to open this wholeness, that's just a part of it. You can't put, no, I don't want this. I just want good stuff. Like just feel it. That's aloneness. And so what? Sadness. And so what? They all are words, you know, like it's more like it's just sensations. But they all come because it wasn't here. It comes and it will go. And even if it doesn't go, it's still okay.
Mm.
Yeah. And I was just like, you know, because I could see like there was like, just like trying to get away from it, just trying to get away from it. And then was like that next thing, like allowance to be here. And it was just like release. And you're completely fine with that. Because if you like, even if like the best thing works for me, if that is just a child comes to you and you know, like, mommy, I'm very sad, like I'm feeling so heavy and just so lonely. Like, no, I don't want you, go away. You will be okay. Just get away from me. You don't do that. You just like, that's okay, darling. That's okay. I will be okay. It will be okay. It's just for now. It's okay. And also that is okay. And like a next thing, I didn't even notice how it just went away. It just wasn't there anymore without doing anything. So if you kind of, because, you know, like, see like fear or like rage, they're like very like strong, like energetically strong, like there is really just like feels in the body. Like this is more like it wasn't that strong, so it was easy to just allow it and just be with that. But I think what was coming up, you know, like, oh, if I allow it, it's going to drag me and I'm going to be like this all the time. This was kind of story.
They're the post-it
Yeah.
notes. Yeah.
Yeah. This was kind of just not this. If this comes and takes me over, that's it. It's just like I will be all my life now heavy and sad.
Yeah. So let's take, for example, let's imagine a situation where a young child approaches mum and says, "Oh, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling not good." And mum just says, "Come here," and just cuddles the child. 3 minutes later, the child is wanting to get out from her cuddle and go away and play. What's happened? It's something's resolved. You know what's happened is not that the cuddle fixed a problem, but rather the cuddle was what the child was probably after all along. Right? That feeling like it was uncuddled or unloved.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. It's like, you know, it's like there is something within you. And when as a child, you go to your caregivers, you get that nervous system co-regulation. And, you know, like you are allowed to be seen. You are allowed to be the way you are feeling, you know, like, and they help you to feel that. Yeah. And like, you know, you're safe to feel it, you know, like you're not there on, you know, like alone and on your own, like, because mom and dad, they holding you, they providing you that safe space. I think that's why that is so important for me, you know, like just like providing that safe space, what never was done for me.
Yeah, of course. Well, and in fact, there's not many parents that can do just that. Most of them will say, "Don't feel that way. You don't have any reason to feel that way," and they will try and talk the person or order the person, the child, not to feel that way. You know, or if they're crying, their only intent is to stop them crying. And instead of saying, "Oh, cry all you like, I've got you," They say,
Mhm.
stop crying, you've got no reason to cry. Now, this is trauma. This is trauma that we all carry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I really like that. I can't remember who said this. Like I think it Gabor Mate. Trauma is things what shouldn't happen to you, but it did, and things what should happen, but you didn't get them. Both of them, that is traumatic for a child.
Yeah, I go along with that. Yeah.
And you know, like when you were talking, and I was just thinking, if you take that kid on the lap and cuddle and just, you know, like you feeling sad, you feeling like upset, darling, and just take a piece of paper and just draw it. Just show me how you're feeling. You know, just let child to express that on the paper. It just like clicked when you were talking, you know, because child actually might draw like darks, you know, living clouds and rain, or, you know, like sun is like smiling down, anything at all, anything at all.
Yeah. Validating what they're feeling. That's an important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to allow them to let it out.
Yep. So part of our problems that we have is that we were taught how to not let it out. We were taught how to
Yes.
suppress it or deny it,
Mhm.
avoid it
Mhm.
in some way or another. Yeah.
Or distracted. Here, biscuit, you will be okay. Like put TV on. Yeah, just
exactly. A
just brush it
distraction.
away. It's not here. But you see, like when I'm talking about children, I'm actually talking about myself, because that's, you know, whenever all this stuff is coming up, I am treating myself as a child, as adult treating child, both, you know, like that's like
Yeah.
them, yeah.
That's one of those interesting paradoxes. You said earlier that you felt like you'd never been a child, but I would say that's equally true, is that you're still a child.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's, yeah, I actually was thinking about this when that thought came up. I just like, what about all this? But then I thought, okay, like from not attachment to thought perspective, it's true. And also from all this emotional, you know, like psychological stuff, also that is true. And they both are true. So whenever the child's part comes up, just sit, just be fully there with it.
Yep.
And that's what integration. And then there is a disintegration when you just, you know, like no thoughts, no stories and all that.
So somehow now as adults, we have to reverse collapse time and be the child and give it the hug and the support and the acceptance that it needs to validate what it was feeling, while at the same time allowing it to see that it just had a naive child's perspective on things, and so that's why it couldn't cope at the time. But now that you can, because you're marrying the child and the adult together, and you're supporting the child in there, then it can see that you've got it, that there is a perspective that can cope with this situation. It's a trick, isn't it? How do we embrace ourselves, embrace the child in us, which is not different to the adult in us. You know, the adult is the child and the child is the adult. And we're all together. Yeah.
It's like
speaking, I'm
that's
just
a fragmentation, you know, like when I was reading about trauma and memory, like that implicit and explicit memories, when in the moment of trauma, that's getting fragmented and stored, you know, like in different parts, you know, like in cognitive memory and somatic memory, and just like, all these parts, and they can be stored there separately, because you can't hold it. It's just too much for nervous system to cope with that, like big shock for a system. It's just like divides that and puts that away. But and like anytime something similar comes up in our environment, that's flashback. You feel
Mm.
that.
Yeah, it
And
gets
you can't
triggered, yeah.
actually understand, why you are reacting. So yeah, these parts are all the time in us, and that's why it's so important, like to get all them babies together, integrate them, just hold them in one container.
Mm. What were you going to say, Anne?
Yeah, I'm just reflecting on the past. I've talked to you about Vince, that sort of 2-3 weeks. I'm not sure how long it was when I was in that. What seemed like darkness, trauma. It's the worst one I've had yet. And I can't understand it really until I come out of it. And then that's the most difficult thing when I'm in it. I don't seem to have any awareness, or I'm like face to face with it. There's no space around it to look at it and parent it, and this is my inner child. And there's none of that intellectual cognitive capacity. There's only what's happening, and that is now coming out of it. I couldn't have said it at the time, but it's like the child who doesn't know what's happening. It doesn't know what it needs. It's in terror, and it's all dark, and it's like there's nothing I can do about it. So what I'm seeing coming out of it is, well, that for a start, because I couldn't put words to it when I was in it, and also that I think as a story, I'm realizing that there's been a bit of a battle between the child and the parent in me, in that me as the parent adult learned to run away and make a good life and wants to stay in the good ego life. So it doesn't want the child and its feelings, doesn't want me, Anne, and my child feelings. And the child doesn't want the parent because the parent's too hard and keeps running off and wanting to do all these exciting things and not take her with it. And I think there's a balancing up of that happening, hopefully, where they can work together, because I'm seeing that the adult running off on these tangents and staying in ego is also quite painful. And the child going to the depth of despair is quite painful. They're two extremes. And I think they're both coming together and saying to each other, well, yours is extreme and mine's extreme. Maybe we can meet in the middle. And just little trickles coming through that, I heard someone suggest calling, they were starting to call themselves darling, and I did it a couple of times this week, and it felt real to me, not just words. I don't know if any of this is making sense, by the way. It's just like little jigsaw puzzles coming together in my mind.
That made sense.
Does.
And
Yeah.
reiterate to trust your intuition with that. Trust the fact that
Yeah.
felt real, right? And you recognize that means that's significant.
Yeah, it's like
Right
they've
with
both been in different rooms of the house, and Penella talks about those different rooms, that you don't go there. There's been a child locked in one and the adult locked in another. They've both found their coping strategies, but they can't be whole because they can't come together and work together.
They are now,
with
though.
all the knowledge that the parents got to look after the child, and all the beautiful qualities the child has with feelings and sensations, and to be a child, the two need to come together, can work together.
I imagine that it's the case for you that they are talking over the fence to each other
Mm,
now.
I think so, yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's what's happening. I think there's been a big breakthrough in seeing that these patterns of obsession, addiction, shopping, whatever, the adult things, are not quite as good as I thought they were.
No.
And that world that I'm running into is not quite as good as I thought it was.
No, no.
And they're trying
Seeing them as
seeing
just
that,
plasters? Can you see
yeah,
them as just plasters? Yeah.
yeah, plasters, yeah. I've seen through quite a few things this week, and I've come out of denial about chronic fatigue.
Yep.
So, you know, I can
Yeah,
look after.
that was another thing I wanted to say to you. Look, you do not have a disease. It may have been given a diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome. Sounds very technical, doesn't it? Chronic fatigue syndrome. It's a syndrome. Okay, yeah. So we've got this label. Okay, that's a good way to keep away from it, right? Let's drop the label and say, describe what you're feeling when that's happening, just as a without the judgment, without the label, without the diagnosis, with just what it is that you're feeling, right? Because that will also go with this stuff, because that's not just another Band-Aid.
Yeah, it's funny you've mentioned this before, Vince, but for me, sometimes labels are useful because I minimize and I normalize
Yes, yeah, I remember you saying
things
that
too
one.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if
You
I
know,
don't
look-
say, hang on a minute, there is something going on here that you need to take care of, and not override and not minimize and normalize, it
Yeah.
helps me in that way, but not to take it too seriously that I have an incurable illness, because I've had too many illnesses that have come and gone.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, that weren't real. I mean, I've had loads
Well,
that just
you know, it's
disappear.
what you call it, you know. Look, about 50, I don't know, 56 years ago, I got discharged from the Navy with exogenous dermatitis, incurable endogenous dermatitis. And from a medical perspective, I've still got it. Yet right at the moment, I don't have any symptoms of it anywhere on my body. But 12 months ago, I had a period of several months where I had no skin on the front of my feet. And I forget where else I had it, but it comes and goes all the time. I have no idea. I've been to every specialist in Melbourne, every specialist in Sydney, every specialist up here. I've tried everything. And in the end, they agree with the Navy. They say, oh, that's just incurable. And yet when I stop doing anything looking for it, it goes away. Now, I don't know if it goes
So
away for
funny,
that
isn't it?
reason.
Yeah.
It comes and goes. I've got no idea what it's about. Right?
Yeah.
There it is,
No.
you know. So I could easily say I've got this disease, or I can say I get visited with the itches sometimes. That's really how I would describe it. I get really, really itchy to the point where I'd happily scratch the skin off and have bare meat there, because that doesn't itch anymore. That's how bad it can get. But yet I haven't got a single sign of it at the moment. And I have no idea why it comes and goes. It just does its own thing, you know. And the body's like that, with all sorts of things come and go, and we don't know why. Why do you get a pimple? Why do you get it there? You know, when whatever.
Well, it's like, it's not so much chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia that rings out at me, but crashes. They're just crashes. Do you know what I mean? That makes more sense to me. I just crash sometimes.
Yep.
And then
That's a good
what you're saying
description.
about diseases coming and going, I was celiac for 10 years. and it went away, which is not meant to go away. And it went away probably for another 10 years. And now it's back.
Mm.
And now I'm also lactose intolerant. And it got to the point where I could only eat bread, plain bread, plain rice, and plain fish, because I have got so many allergies. But I kind of think they're all going to go away.
Yep.
And so is the chronic fatigue, because I don't believe it, you
Yeah,
know.
I
But it
agree.
is
Yeah.
here at the moment.
I
And
mean, it's nothing's to say that they're not real, but to explain them, how they come and go, why they come and go,
Yeah.
it's impossible. We can't.
yeah,
We don't know. You know, they're just there or they're not there. You know, or they're there in whatever degree they're in. Yeah, it's amazing. The human body is just. I mean, we should all be dead. We're all full of plastic. Every one of us has got a bloody kilo of plastic in our body, and the stuff that we eat these days is
mm,
so much nutrition in the supermarket vegetables anymore, but we survive.
mm.
Body, it's fucking amazing the way we survive.
Mm.
Just keep going regardless. Yeah. We're better than the cockroaches. We'll outlive them, and they can survive for days without a head, you know. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's part of the wonder of it, isn't it? It's just we'll never know. We'll never understand. I mean, all of our science, and we still don't know how things work, you know. Yeah. Yeah.
Talking
You're right,
about
Cal.
Sorry.
Kelly, you're right. Give us a wave.
talking about them children, you know, like them kids parts within, there is not just like one child. Like in my case, I see there are different
Okay,
kids.
yeah.
Yeah, and one day, like over a month ago, no, it's even more than that. I stumbled across one kid and she just had no trust in me whatsoever. She wouldn't allow near me, just like no and no and no. And recently she appeared again, but there's just like, she was like such a strong charge with like a lot of that emotional stuff, and it just felt like she's trapped in a small, like a ball, like container, and she's like bouncing. She can't get, and like as soon as you approach to her, she just destroys you. You can't even approach her. So, and I remember like best thing what came up for me, I need to create space for her. So I like literally just was sitting there and just like opening space for her so she can expand that charge. Because anytime, you know, like you try to get closer, she just destroys you, shreds you into bits. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember I was just like sitting, like expanding. And then like she came closer, and then just like that big release was out. And that's, you know, like start to settle down. But it was like, that's what I'm saying. Every time you get something, you don't know what to do with that. And then you kind of trying to work around, you know, like how to help this wee being.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's like normally, you know, like normally when answers do come, you know, like when I just look there, it's just like kind of feel into it, like what does she really need? Like what is happening? Like how does she feel? And then like once you really shown it, like it's just like you just know. Like I would never think about sitting expanding space, but because I just felt just like a bouncing into them, you know, just like bouncing and trapped, and it's just like she just needs more space to get that. Yeah, boom. It was like a lot.
Yeah, good one. Yeah. Yeah,
I
that could
normally, you know,
be.
like I normally say, like, you know, when she gives it to me, because I say, like, I'm okay, yeah, I'm here, like, I'm holding, I can deal with that. You can give it to me, you can give it to me. You don't need to do anything about it. You're okay the way you are, you know. You can stay, you can go, you can do whatever you want. Like, all space is yours. It's all yours. You're okay to be here. And then, you know, like, she gives it to you and just like releases and I normally just like, I just feel so good and I just so thankful, like she gave it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that could be a really useful concept too. The idea that we've not got just one child, but we've got a multiple children. You know, we've got
yeah.
the angry one, we've got the frightened one,
Mhm.
we've got the crying
Mhm.
one, we've got all these different
Yeah,
ones. Yeah,
yeah.
can
The
really
scared
helpful.
ones and lonely ones, different, very,
Absolutely.
very
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
Mhm.
And
And
everyone,
they all need their own approach. So there is no,
absolutely,
you
yes.
know, like
Yeah, yeah.
no book you can read. This one needs this here. You do 1, 2, 3.
Mm,
Yeah.
weird one.
Yes.
I've been having trouble with that one.
Oh
Accepting
no,
weird one.
embrace that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I only have weirdos
poor
from my
little thing,
friends.
poor little darling. I've got a 5-year-old granddaughter, step granddaughter, and I swear to God, she's not she's not taken on the separate self yet. I swear to God, she's not taken on separate. It's so fascinating to watch her. And we all make a joke. Edith lives in her own planet because she's always happy. And
Yeah.
she once said to me, she was watching a cartoon, she said, Nanny, it's only about a year ago, I said, what? She said, do some people have bad days? And I said, yeah, they do. She said, I said, do you? And she went, no, not really. I only have good ones. It's lovely.
Mm.
So beautiful. I want it to stay like that. So innocent.
Yeah, they lose it when they go to school. They get their peer groups, you know, gets
Yeah.
in heavily, unless they were lucky like me and I was a loner at school. I just kept to myself because I didn't fit in with anybody. So as much as that was horrible at the time, I now look back and think, wow, I was lucky. I was really lucky that I didn't get conditioned like so many of those other ones. In fact,
I was a loner.
I remember I at high school, and I can even remember where I was, kind of on some steps I was, and I saw this handsome bloke who had all these girls chasing after him, and I thought to myself, I thought, I'm so lucky not to be you, you know, like as much as I wanted to be handsome, I really did, but I could see that his ego was going to get him into big trouble because he was so good looking and everybody just loved him so much. And I thought, you know, you poor bugger, you're going to have a real hassle through life with an ego like you're going to have, you know. Yeah. But that was just
It's
me
a
trying
hard.
to make myself feel better, wasn't it, really?
Yes, but same time you know, yes, it's true also, but it is, you know, like for anyone being getting their ego really inflated, it is very hard falling.
Mm, mm. And a lot don't survive it. A lot of people,
Yeah.
just look at all the rock stars that have committed suicide, got plenty of money, plenty of adoration, and life is empty for them and they suicide.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder if that's what happens to me before a crash. Like I get too high and then a crash.
Mm.
You know, the ego gets its feet on and then a crash and the ego has to have its feet taken off again.
Mm. It wasn't because you got too high as much as because that high wasn't based on anything solid.
Yeah.
That's why the crash. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Yeah. We're just playing in the ego world again with the sticking plasters and false highs.
But again, we have to keep reminding ourselves again and again, remind ourselves that whatever turns up, it's okay. But that's not where the juice is. It's in how we feel about that, where the juice is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to stay conscious of like this shopping obsession. I'm very addictive tendencies. I used to be addicted to alcohol, and that just filters into other things, and trying really to just stay conscious through it rather than beat myself up or try to stop. Just like, how does this feel? And last time I did it, I'm really starting to notice the tension that comes with it and the obsession of just got to get the best one and the right dress, the right, you know, this perfection.
What comes
you
up
know, and
in your
beating
hair now?
myself up, oh, you're so superficial, you're so vain, why is this important? And, you know, and it doesn't seem like me, all this shopping thing. But rather than getting caught up in that, I'm just trying to stay in the body, and like, it's very uncomfortable. It's seeking, it's intense seeking. And it's just an old area that needs, well, I say needs, that hopefully I'm going to break through now, because I'm starting to see it. Just an old kind of outpost that's trying to hold on to an idea of self that I don't want to let go of. You know, if I stop shopping, I'll get old. If I stop shopping, I won't be perfect. All of those kind of beliefs.
Absolutely. Yep.
I'm seeing it anyway.
Mine was drinking and scrubbing. I just loved, you know, like scrubbing things, cleaning, doing, organizing. That's all controlling thing, you know, like, because like once you can't control what is happening here, so you're trying to control environment around you. Because I remember like one day there was bleach, you know, like floor was washed with bleach. I can actually see, oh, such release, you know, like, oh, I just feel so good.
Yeah, that doing mechanism that was so brainwashed into. I'm seeing it all the time. Do. It's a hard one.
And the drinking, what I have
I'm addicted to the YouTube videos of cleaning carpets and clearing blackheads. I can watch it for hours and hours.
Drinking, what I have realized, it's a tension in the body that, you know, like a tension really just feels like tension, and it feels like squeezing you out. And that's what I was drinking, you know, to release that tension, to get a wee bit of release or settle, you know, like calm. Yeah. And I have a very uncomfortable feeling to be based, because when I start to become aware of it, I was just like, I just want to get out of body. just not this. But again, like once you sit with that, I really like Pernell's approach. It's actually helped me quite a few times. Can I stay in the body that feels like tense, or can I stay in the body that feels so dysregulated? And I remember, you know, like I heard this and I really applied this. And I just like, can I stay in the body that feels so fearful? Yeah, I'm actually okay with that. It's very discomfortable, yeah, but I'm okay with that. Yeah, and that really helped me quite a few times. Because it is, you just run away from it, just not this.
Yeah, mine's usually no, I can't. I want to watch Netflix.
There was something.
Like, no.
There was something.
No.
Yeah. like she also said about something, can you stay in a body that feels like that? No. Can you be with this? No, something like that. You know, like like, because mine is just like normally, yeah, that's fine, let's do it. Let's go through this shit. There's nothing what we can't handle. We don't know how to handle, but we will handle.
Yeah, mine's resistance.
I think I'm just, you know, like when I notice resistance, I'm not saying, but I really need to look at that. Like, oh, okay, resistance, resistance, let's do it. It breaks through. Crack it open.
Can I stay with resistance? Yeah, I'm fine with resistance. I can stay with that.
Yes, possibly what could be different, why, you know, like why we are and then having different approaches, you know, that polyvagal, this is, you know, like you are in that freeze parasympathetic hyperarousal, and mine is normally that sympathetic, just go, oh, you know, like that's like hyperactivity, and this is why, you know, like just like do. So I need kind of settle down myself a bit, because just like all the time on that, like like on drugs.
Yeah.
We need half for you and half for me.
Yeah, so I balance each other out.
I need a bit of your oomph and you need a bit of my, no, I can't be bothered.
Yeah. But we'll fix that, but just come and clean my house first.
I really need to settle down myself, because what happens, what I have noticed, you know, like that fear response kicks in and I get into that sympathetic and just go, do. And then body just one moment, boom, just like melt down, and that's it. I can't do it anymore. Like really just like a child, just like sitting there and just crying. Like complete helplessness. That's what happens. So, you know, like once I see that.
You can see that that's a diversion, can't you?
Yeah.
That activity is just an escape from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To face, to like normally in my case, that is a fear of people going to get annoyed about, you know, like annoyed with me. It's like fear of their anger.
Well, that's where it
you
came
know, like,
from, isn't it? There you go. That's going straight to the source.
yeah. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. So I'm just like doing. So to please them, so they are okay, they're not getting annoyed, and then I'm safe. And then I push myself, and then just collapse. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, I've just realized how I react to a task. It's the same, play dead. Like with children in kindergarten. I have work to do, play dead. The task will get bored, it will go away.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a dissociation too, isn't it? Playing dead. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing the different strategies that we come up with to avoid. I mean, just recognizing also that the nature of our thoughts, the existence of certain thoughts, but their nature of it is one way to avoid, but activity is another way that a lot of, and I would imagine that's more women have the activity thing to avoid. I don't think I'm being misogynistic there, but I suspect that that is the case of, yeah. Whereas blokes will go and have a beer with their mates or something to avoid.
Yeah, because, you know, like in society, girls have to be good girls, you know, like they have to please people, they have to comply.
Yes, but they're also the
Mhm.
carers and the cleaners and the
Yeah,
all
yeah,
over
there
the
is a
job.
lot of this like codependent people pleasing patterns that fall in response.
But on the other hand, I think guys get more ambitious to achieve.
Yeah, but that's also doing just, you know, like to get somewhere. So I am some. Oh, one is fight response, another one is fly response. So if you're in the fight, you're going to be, you know, like probably more motivated than just like, and if you're in the flight, you kind of more like doing. Because one is like your fight response is anger based, and your fly response is fear based. They both, you know, like fear, but like in your fight response there is more anger, more active anger, and in your flight response there is more fear, so you kind of running away from it.
Yeah, yeah, and that would certainly feed into the doing thing, I think. Yeah.
Did you say something, Vince, about playing dead is avoidance? Did you mention that? Or did you, maybe I misheard then?
That's what Bianca said. She'll play dead as a way of doing it, avoiding it. Yeah, I mean, none of these things kind of we can speculate, I mean, and so on. But it's like, yeah, I hadn't thought of the doing as a flight thing, and at first glance, playing dead might be a freeze response to fear, but
But
none of those belong
I
in the
can
category.
I can speak for me.
Yeah.
I have a reaction to nervous situation, to being nervous, is fall asleep.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm falling asleep, and I think tiredness is also avoidance.
Yes, absolutely. It can be. Yeah, for sure.
I'm getting so tired. It's just a flop.
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's
I've
flop
experienced that one
reaction.
too. Yeah, and people will often go to
It is
sleep.
distraction. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm too tired to feel it.
Yep. So people who are forced into inactivity for some reason, that inactivity can make them vulnerable to their whatever their fear is, and so sleeping is often a way that they'll cope with that. Yeah, I've experienced that one. I can go to sleep at the drop of a hat, and I used to get in uncomfortable situations and go to sleep. Yeah, that was definitely a thing. I'm waiting for that giant dog to slobber on you, Kelly. It looks like a Turner and Hooch dog.
Yeah, it is. It's
The baby,
Roxy.
innit?
Yeah, she is. She's waiting for a walk.
Oh yeah. If I can't even say that word around my dog, it'll do backflips as soon as it hears the word. Yeah.
I'm doing like that as soon as I said it then.
Yeah.
They're really clever. I used to do a meeting, and at the end of the meeting, we always used to do this certain poem. And as soon as it got to the last poem, both dogs used to start barking frantically because they knew that they were going on a walk after that.
Yeah.
Oh, so
It's
cute.
kind of like that. Yeah. All right. Well, it's 10 to midnight here, and I've got to get up at 5. Well, I've got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning for the
You
next.
have another meeting?
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow we've got the FEDA meeting at 5 a.m. Yeah. So, yeah, that's all right.
Why'd you start your day that early, Vince? You just like it?
No. I really do like my sleep-ins, but it's a matter of fitting in with other people in other parts of the world. Yeah. So and it was 7:30 in the morning until we went back an hour of daylight saving, and then New York went forward an hour, so it ended up being 2 hours earlier. So that's why it ended up being. I start at 5:30 in the morning. Because tomorrow one is tied to New York time, the FEDA meeting, whereas all the others are in my own time. Yeah. But yeah,
At 5:30 in the morning in Australia, yeah?
yeah.
Wow. That's a very early one. That's 7:30 here in the UK. 7:30, no.
Okay.
7, 8:30.
8. Yeah. Oh, well, that's a very civilized time, that one. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I hope something good has
Thank you
happened
so
tonight.
much,
Yeah.
Vince and everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Good one. All right. Yeah. No, it's been
Beautiful
good. I've
meeting.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank
Right.
you.
Lots of love.
Bye.
Lots of love.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.